My rent in my 1-bedroom apartment is more expensive than a 2-bedroom apartment. This is one of the primary reasons why people quit their PhD. When you're a second year or above, it's almost like good luck. I'm actually attending my first international conference,
the world's greatest robotic conference.
I'm currently in the 6th year of my PhD at MIT, and although I've gained a ton of knowledge over the past few years, I must say that when I first started MIT, I was pretty naive. I thought that all I'd have to do was study, go to class, complete the requirements, and then I'd be graduated in 5 years. Well, obviously I was wrong, and instead I found that achieving success at MIT, in Boston, and building a career in technology in general, it requires more than just studying and writing code. I would like to share with you a few things that I wish I would have known before I started the PhD. I really believe that knowing these things would have better prepared me for my experience, and so I want to share them with you. I won't be discussing the requirements needed to graduate or how to get in. I've discussed that in other videos. I also won't be talking about the weather or how much time it sucks out of your life. I think those things are pretty obvious. Instead, I want to talk about the things that I really feel can make or break your experience at MIT. If you're interested in this conversation, definitely stick around for the rest of this video, but if you're new here, what's up? I'm Afueko. I love talking about technology and AI, and also academia and building a career in tech. So if that interests you, definitely like, comment, and subscribe. You have to intentionally cultivate your experiences throughout the PhD program. If I have any single regret about my time at MIT, it's not paying enough attention to this. Traveling to showcase your research is one of those experiences that you can cultivate if you're intentional. When you publish your work, you can do so at a journal or a conference, you can submit it to a scientific magazine, or you can even just upload it on a public website like Archive. But conferences are a very unique opportunity to showcase your work. Conferences provide wonderful opportunities to network with your peers from around the world, discuss your work, receive feedback, and even find collaborators. I'll also note that if you're interested in a career in academia, these research networking opportunities are extremely important when it comes to making a name for yourself in the research world. And if you're able to secure presentations at these events, it can be very useful practice for when you want to do a job talk or another research presentation in the future. These experiences can truly be career building. I'm actually attending my first international conference, the International Conference on Robotics and Automation in London this May.
It gives me an enormous pleasure to welcome you to EECS 2023, the world's greatest robotic conference due to be held in London in 2023.
I'm really excited for it. I'm actually going to be sharing some of that with you all on this channel, so stay tuned. Traveling for research can provide you with more than just a welcome break from constant studying. It can also be exciting opportunities to see the world and gain valuable exposure to life outside of academia. The same thing applies for other extracurricular activities. I find that having even a single solid extracurricular activity outside of the degree program can be extremely beneficial. I'm also currently working on a startup that's actually becoming a pretty serious business, and it's giving me some exposure to what the reality of entrepreneurship and what a career in entrepreneurship would look like. This is pretty intentionally aligned with my career goals, and so I think that it's helping me make the most of my limited time during the PhD. Cultivating a cohesive set of experiences throughout your PhD can not only give you that credibility when you're searching for opportunities in the future, but it can also provide you with a very strong foundation for making decisions about the trajectory of your career. I really wish that somebody had communicated with me the importance of truly finding balance from day one. Don't get it twisted though, if you do a PhD, you're going to have to work really hard. But I wish people had talked about the fact that your personal life is just as important. Your family is important. Your friendships are important. You don't want to spend half a decade or more in a degree program only to come out and find that you have to rebuild all of your relationships. Also, cultivating new relationships is extremely important. Cultivating new relationships isn't just great for making new friends, but it's also really great for finding research collaborations and networking when it comes to your career in the future. I'm definitely not saying that you should only network and build relationships so that you can get things out of people, but I'm just saying that having that network of people to support you makes your life a lot easier. Take the time to put yourself out there to develop those relationships. Personally, I'm a very introverted and extremely shy person when it comes to like talking to people in real life, but putting myself out there to build relationships with new people is one thing that I will never regret. Lastly, when it comes to balance, you really shouldn't neglect your personal needs. You can always make an excuse that you have too much work to go to the gym or go out with friends, right? However, this behavior is really not sustainable. At some point, you're going to burn out. Having work-life balance and routines that keep me organized is the most effective way I've found to stay on top of everything. That means putting energy into taking care of every single part of my life. As someone who's nearing the end of my PhD journey, I really wish that someone had discussed with me how unique each year of the PhD feels mentally. It's not just that the workload changes, but it's all of the emotions and challenges that come along with it. I think this is why some people say the PhD is emotionally taxing. During the first couple of years, you might feel a range of emotions, excitement, you might feel overwhelmed, and you might feel that you're not making significant progress towards your research goals. This is a really common feeling. If you're unable to find your research niche, it can cause people to quit early. But as you progress through the program, you're going to start to feel more confident about the work that you're doing. When that confidence comes, a whole new set of challenges come. You might find yourself working a significant number of hours. This also can lead you to question, is my research impactful? Did I choose the right path? Is this the right thesis project for me? That potential insecurity in your research direction, this lack of confidence in research, if that comes in those later years, this is one of the primary reasons why people quit their PhD. If you're not seeing results and you're also not confident in your research direction, that can be very discouraging for the progress of your thesis. I won't harp on this for too long, but it's important to know that everyone who's pursuing the PhD is doing so on their own timeline. You can cultivate the skills you need to build the career that you want on your own timeline. The last thing I want to talk about are the financial implications of coming to MIT and how expensive it truly is to live here, even if you have full funding. Living at MIT is expensive, and one of the most scarce resources in the Cambridge, Boston area is housing. This is one of the things that I don't know why I had never discussed this with anybody before and why I didn't look around the area to see how expensive it would be to live in the area without having on-campus housing. But I had assumed that getting housing on campus would be relatively straightforward. This is probably because when I was at Stanford, I lived on campus for 5 of my 6 years, and it really wasn't hard for me to find housing even as a graduate student. First year students are not necessarily guaranteed housing, but they have higher priority when it comes to housing. But when you're a second year or above, it's almost like good luck. First years have priority for housing, so you can definitely feel confident in applying if you're applying early. After that, if you're not willing to be a graduate RA or be on any of the housing committees, off-campus housing is something that you'll definitely have to consider. And off-campus housing is very expensive. To put it in perspective, I live equally as far from a 2-bedroom apartment at MIT that is probably for graduate families. My rent in my 1-bedroom apartment is more expensive than a 2-bedroom apartment that is on campus housing. You can also try to save money by living further away from campus, but I've actually found that this is probably the worst thing that you can do. I lived about 15 miles away from campus. I found that driving during rush hour would take me an hour each way if I left during the normal hours. Even taking public transportation from that far away would have taken equally as long. It was extremely exhausting, and honestly, I will never do that again. I'd rather spend my entire paycheck on rent than live far away, and honestly, my productivity has significantly increased since I moved back to campus. That's all I have for today, but if you have any questions about the PhD, about MIT, or living in Boston, definitely put them in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one.